There are quite a number of oil and gas opportunities in Kenya that you can tap into if you are interested in either job or business opportunities when it comes to the oil and gas value chain in Kenya. And for you to be able to tap into those oil and gas opportunities in Kenya, it might be important for you to first take time to research and understand how the oil and gas industry works in Kenya. And in this video, I am going to give you a broad overview of how oil and gas industry works in Kenya, the segments of the oil and gas value chain in Kenya, and probably how you can be able to go ahead when it comes to looking for either job or business opportunities across the oil and gas value chain. Now, the oil and gas industry in Kenya started way back in the 1900s because the first time we started actually having kerosene come into the country was in 1905. And over that period, we actually got involved in the oil and gas industry and more products were introduced into the market. If you have studied a bit of Kenyan history, you understand that that time we were under the British colony. In the 1950s, Kenya also started exploring for oil and gas wells or for oil and gas resources, with the first well being drilled in 1956. And over the next couple of decades, a lot of activities have taken place when it comes to the oil and gas industry, and the oil and gas industry have even become better, and the growth has been good, with more players getting involved across the oil and gas value chain. Now, for you to be able to get or tap into the oil and gas opportunities in Kenya, you actually need to understand that the oil and gas industry in Kenya is divided into three key segments. You have the upstream oil and gas sector, you have the midstream oil and gas sector, and you have the downstream oil and gas sector. Across these three oil and gas segments, there are job and business opportunities that you can get. You can actually be able to get a job across those three segments, and at the same time, if you are interested in building or starting an oil and gas business in Kenya, you can get involved in any of those three segments. And as I mentioned, there are three key segments when it comes to the oil and gas value chain. Now I'm going to probably start with the one that probably is the newest. Probably it has not gotten a lot of limelight because probably not many people understand it, and also Kenya has not been a very big producer of the oil and gas resources, and that is the upstream oil and gas sector. In very basic terms, the upstream oil and gas sector is the segment of the oil and gas industry that deals with looking for, searching, and getting the oil and gas resources from the ground. This is what you might refer to as probably the segment of the oil and gas sector that deals with dealing with the raw material that actually feeds the entire oil and gas value chain. And it is relatively new in Kenya in terms of its activity, but actually it has been going on since 1956, which is when the first well was drilled in Kenya. A lot of activities has been going on. A lot of companies have come and drilled for oil and gas resources across various areas in the country. But it was Tullow back in 2012 that actually made the first major discovery in Turkana in Kenya. That is what probably you are aware of, and that is the Gamia 1 well oil discovery. That was announced by President Kibaki back then, and after that, quite a number of activities have been going on, and the upstream oil and gas sector in Kenya has also become a little bit more active after that particular discovery, with more investors interested in looking at what is available in Kenya across the four oil and gas basins that we have in Kenya, and I will explain to you about basins a little bit later. But what it means is this, that there is actually an entire value chain within the upstream oil and gas sector. There are quite a lot of oil and gas business opportunities that you can tap into that space. You can also get oil and gas job opportunities in the upstream oil and gas in Kenya. When compared to other oil producing nations in Africa and across the world, Kenya is a baby. We are still a frontier region, we are very young, and we have only drilled actually less than 100 wells compared to other countries that has drilled 10,000 wells, over 20,000 wells. So we still have a long way to go. If you are interested in pursuing oil and gas opportunities in Kenya, I have created for you a document with a list of some of the oil and gas opportunities that you can tap into. There is a link on the description box below for you to actually get it. And I know, given that we have already had a discovery of oil in Turkana, you have probably also have seen Kenya exporting its first batch of crude oil through the early oil pilot scheme. The question that a lot of people keep asking, and I actually understand it, is what has happened or what happened to the oil in Turkana. That's a different question, and probably we'll have a video discussing all that, because there is an entire process of what goes on, or there are quite a number of stages when it comes to the oil and gas production in a country, and Tullow is in a certain stage that probably makes it look like nothing is happening. The other segment that you need to understand is the midstream oil and gas industry in Kenya. And this, in very basic terms, deals with the processing and storage of the oil and gas resources, either crude oil or finished products. And in Kenya, this can probably be well explained by the presence of what was once a refinery in Changamwe, as well as the role that Kenya Pipeline Company plays. It has a network of pipelines that actually move the finished products across the country and to different depots across the country. At the same time, Kenya Pipeline also operates and owns petroleum depots, which also form part of this midstream space. Now, the most important debate when it comes to the oil and gas opportunities in Kenya in relation to the midstream oil and gas sector or segment is the fact that it is also a value chain on itself. There are quite a lot of job opportunities that you can tap into within this segment, as well as business opportunities that you can actually tap into or get involved in when it comes to dealing with the storage and movement of oil and gas products, as well as crude oil. So you are looking at issues that are probably maintenance of pipeline, building of the pipeline, the storage facility, the engineering services that are required, and a host of very many other oil and gas opportunities that you can actually tap into when it comes to the midstream oil and gas sector in Kenya. The third segment that you need to understand, and where you can also pursue oil and gas opportunities in Kenya, is the downstream oil and gas segment. And I think this is one that is very popular in Kenya. It's probably what majority of Kenyans know and understand. This is because you can be able to see petrol stations. If you have a car, this is where you go and fuel. If you use paraffin or any other petroleum product, you get it at this particular segment. That's because, in very basic terms, the downstream oil and gas segment in Kenya deals with the distribution or marketing of the petroleum products. This is when you have actually a finished product and now you are getting it to the final consumer. And so this is very popular. There are quite a number of petrol stations in Kenya, very many brands and companies that have petrol stations, some independent, some are large oil and gas companies. So you understand this space, and this is a space that a lot of people actually get involved in. So even when people ask me about oil and gas in Kenya, I usually know this is what they're asking about, even if what I'm actually really involved in is the upstream segment of the oil and gas sector. But I understand that downstream is what many people understand, petrol station, owning a petrol station, selling of LPG, or what you might consider to be, selling of gas in Kenya, and all those associated opportunities are actually things that you can tap into. So as you can see, the oil and gas industry in Kenya has numerous opportunities that you can be able to tap into in upstream, in midstream, and downstream sector. You can either decide to pursue an opportunity in terms of career, meaning that you're looking for an oil and gas job in Kenya, or you can actually pursue the oil and gas opportunity in terms of a business. That means you'd want to actually learn how you can start an oil and gas business in Kenya, across the three oil and gas segment, or across the entire oil and gas value chain. And this is what I can be able to say when it comes to the oil and gas opportunities in Kenya. There are many, but that does not necessarily mean that it is easy to get into the oil and gas industry. It is not, just like in any other industry in Kenya and across the world. Oil and gas industry is probably one of the highly regulated sectors across the country, and therefore there might be a bit of hurdles when it comes to getting involved or tapping into the opportunities in the oil and gas sector. But that does not mean that it cannot be done, because as you may imagine, or if you have done some bit of research, you realize that quite a lot of people have actually gotten involved in the oil and gas industry in Kenya at the different segments or at different levels across the oil and gas value chain. So if you're interested in getting involved in the oil and gas industry in Kenya, I would want you to take time, probably study, research, learn more about oil and gas industry and how the oil and gas industry works in Kenya, and then decide on the opportunity that you want to pursue. If you have enjoyed this particular video, watch the video on your screen right now. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not, and I'll see you in the next video.